Hey, how are you? This is Daniel Vizendi, and today we're going to have an international look on the three things the US could learn from Australia. And this is the photo of the day. It's me playing chess back in 2019. Unfortunately, I think I lost that game, but let's go to the video. So why learn anything from Australia in the first place? I reckon most people know that Australia is a pretty well-off country. Of course, it is in the top 10 AGI-wise worldwide. It's number 7 currently, and most other countries in the top 10, they're European countries that are much smaller, both in population and in size. Of course, Australia is an outlier in that sense. It is also much more similar to the US in that it speaks English. It was colonized by England. It does take a lot of things out of the US, even in their political system as well. And on top of that, of course, it's a really, really big country, just like the US is, even if the populations are not comparable at all. So it is a reference in quality of life, innovative policy, and global perception. Let's go for each of the three things that I recommend the US take a closer look at, which I think would be very good to implement in America as well. First thing is Australia's superannuation system. Now, superannuation just means retirement. It has a superannuation system, and in parallel with that, it has a means-tested welfare system for retirees. So Australia's retirement system is virtually the only one in the developed world with costs projected to go down. This is largely because it's a self-funded system. Self-funded system has a lot of advantages. Think of the RRA in the US. Think of instead of having FICA, you have just your RA and your 401k, and your employer is actually mandated to contribute a significant amount of your income. In Australia's case, it's 12% onto those accounts. Of course, the self-funded system, it capitalizes markets because there's a lot more money to be invested in markets, which is that generally a good thing. Of course, it allows for lower cost of capital. It lowers reliance on government because, of course, if you pay FICA, you're dependent on the government in 50 years or 40 years from now to actually pay you whatever it is that you do. Whereas if the money is an account in your name, sure, you might not be able to access it now, but once you turn a certain age, you will be able to. It lowers your reliance on government. It allows for more retirement income because generally you can expect a higher rate of return from investing in capital markets than from lending to the government, which is pretty much what you're doing with FICA. And it builds on the average individual's net worth. That's a really important point as well. If you die and you played, I don't know, 40 years of FICA, maybe your kids might not get anything, but if you have a bunch of money in your RA or in your 401k, they will actually inherit that money. It would be part of your estate. And the same for superannuation in Australia. So moving into a retirement system that's more self-funded with maybe mandatory payments that the employers have to make on your behalf in an account in your name, whereby you can choose what you're going to invest in. I think that's much more interesting. It's much more sustainable, and you can see Australia's public pension spending is by far one of the lowest in the developed world. Parallel with that, they have a means-tested welfare system, which just means that if you're 65 or whatever age it is or more, and you're below a certain net worth, that's the means-tested part, you do get a certain amount of checks from the government, but it doesn't depend on how much you contributed, on how much taxes you paid, like most other systems where you get a certain amount proportional or based on what you paid into it. In Australia, you just pay normal taxes, and if it just so happens that you're poor at old age, the government helps you no matter what. So that's a really interesting system because it allows for the best of both worlds, where people are safe, they know they have something to rely on, but at the same time, their retirement is much more their own. They're much more independent in that sense. Moving on to the second thing I think America could take from Australia. Australia is known for having a lot of working holiday makers. I myself was a working holiday maker in Australia for a while, and there's a lot of Europeans there. There's a lot of South Asians, a lot of Latin Americans there. But I think mostly working holidays are a European kind of thing. You know, they go to Australia mostly from Europe, and it's a really interesting system because most of the time, what working holidays allow for is, first of all, the visitors, they really appreciate Australia. They end up liking Australia much more. It definitely helps the global perception, and they're normally filling low wage, low skill job environment. So like, I think baristas, bartenders, waiters, whatever, which in the US because the US doesn't have that much of a robust working holiday system. Mostly those positions, they're taken by illegal immigrants. So if you can change that, and instead of having illegal immigrants working in those positions, you have just young people who are trying to have some fun from other developed countries, who are much less likely to actually overstay, to actually end up as illegal immigrants. I think that's a really good system. On top of that, it might improve their perception. And America already has kind of the network for that, because Australia has a lot of immigrants and a lot of working holiday makers, exactly because it pays well, and America pays well as well. So I think there would be a lot of Italians, French people, Germans, English people who go to Australia nowadays, who might actually go to America and help fulfill those lower level jobs that America does have a hard time fulfilling in the first place. So, like I said, they're a great way to attract youth from like-minded countries. You can choose which countries are allowed in or not. That's totally up to you. You improve your global perception, and you feel low-skilled labor shortages without relying, or at least without entirely relying, on illegal immigration like the US does. As of right now, there's over 200,000 working holiday visas that were issued, I think, in the financial year 2022 to 2023. So that's really impressive. Of course, there are some Americans there as well. But yeah, I think it is a very interesting policy, and it would help both perception and labor shortages in the US, at least in the short term. Now, for the third thing, of course, working holidays, they're kind of part of the immigration system. But what I mean is, I think the US should have a more comprehensive immigration system that's a little more like Canada's, Australia's, New Zealand's. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think the US should have as much immigration as Australia, Canada, New Zealand. Australia currently has 30% of its population born abroad. The US is at 15%, and I definitely think that 30% is just an insane number. But just because you don't want more immigration doesn't mean that the immigration that you do want can't be done in a better way. America has a very dual system in which it's really hard to get there legally. So immigrants are either extremely talented legal immigrants or very low-level illegal immigrants who are willing to do whatever it takes because their conditions in their home country are really poor. Having more conditions for mid-tier immigration, like Australia does, like Canada does, I think that's really interesting because yes, you need doctors and engineers and people in STEM, but you also need nurses, you also need tradies, and Australia definitely does a much better job at actually getting those professions in than America does. And of course, America has just a crazy immigration system in that there are virtually no temporary residencies that lead to permanent residency. There's a lot of green card luck in the sense that it's somewhat a lottery. Australia having a point system, it's much easier to indicate to people who want to immigrate there what they need to do, and it's much easier for them as well to actually filter qualities that they want. So having a more direct point system with age restrictions, in the case of Australia, it's really hard to immigrate to Australia if you're over 45, which in an increasingly aging world, I think is a really good idea. It's much more transparent, and it has a focus on mid-level skill shortages that addresses skills that are actually in demand. I think that's a much better system than the US currently has. So if we were wrapping up, every country has something to offer, but Australia in particular has proved itself as a very innovative country with intelligent and efficient policies. While the US is ahead in some criteria, its pension and immigration systems are in dire need of reform anyway. There's bound to be some change in the future. They're not sustainable. So looking towards a country with similar values, characteristics, similar culture as well, may offer some policy solutions moving forwards. But yeah, just let me know what you think of the US retirement and immigration system, and I'll see you around.